Xenoyer the Destroyer, and I'm sitting here in my house room this morning checking out the news, and I'm not very happy about what I'm seeing. 8 Democratic, or no, excuse me, 7 Democratic senators and 1 independent voted with Republicans to reopen the federal government in the shutdown deal. Janine Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, Tim Klein, Dick Durbin, Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, John Fetterman, and Angus King. I'm totally disappointed in Dick Durbin on that, because I used to live in Illinois, in southern Illinois. So he was a senator when I lived there, and I kept up with him, and I thought he was okay. But doing this, that's making me rethink whether I think he's okay. And John Fetterman, that guy, from whenever he started running, I had high hopes for that guy, but he's just totally turned into a big disappointment. As soon as that blue wave happened, they decided to cave into Republican bully tactics for short-term gain. The primary issue is bread and butter, sure. Now this is affecting people all up and down the line. Aircraft workers, maintenance facility where I used to be in the aircraft industry, so that is like near and dear to my heart. So it's not just downed planes, you guys. It's people working at maintenance facilities and all kinds of things, distribution. I mean, there's a lot of people get affected by this, not just planes getting down and people not being able to fly, and then not to mention the other problems. But who was everybody pointing the fingers at? They weren't pointing the fingers at the Democrats. They were putting the blame squarely where it belonged, with the Republican Party and Donald Trump. It's crazy. So I'm just a little flabbergasted, and I tell you, this ain't just a problem with the Democratic Party caving in. What is the problem? Well, the primary two things that cause this problem is the lack of a nonpartisan Speaker of the House and the lack of codetermination. Because that especially in states with a lot of aviation industry, that those corporations, they sent lobbyists door to door in Washington, D.C., chewing on their ear, open it up, and eight senators happened to agree with them. So, it's those two things, the codetermination and the no, and not having a nonpartisan Speaker of the House. Look, so I wrote a little piece here. I'll read about it that might help us all to understand this. See, we have no codetermination in industry, no shared stewardship. In any healthy democracy, labor and government share a voice. Codetermination, workers sitting on boards, citizens having a say in policy outcomes, keeps power honest. Without it, you get rule by lobbyists, not representation. People who actually keep the lights on, mechanics, controllers, food inspectors, federal workers, have zero say in whether they're even paid. That's why when the government shuts down, workers suffer first and most. Those responsible fly over the wreckage of private planes and still get paid their congressional salary while they're taking a big ass vacation. Everybody else is worried about it. Codetermination would have built a feedback loop of accountability. If workers had a formal voice in the corporate boardroom, they'd have a voice in government, and no one could weaponize a shutdown for politics. the government would have reopened the right way, by consensus, not by surrender. So, and if we had a nonpartisan Speaker of the House, which we don't have, the House, the supposed people's chamber, it's turned into a hostage den. Every speaker now serves their party's extremists, not the Constitution. If the Speaker's chair were nonpartisan, accountable to all members rather than one side, the shutdown would have been impossible. You can't hold the budget hostage if the referee isn't wearing your jersey. We're suffering from structural absence, the absence of nonpartisanship in Congress. George Washington warned us about this. I'll hammer that freaking point from now to doomsday because he said it right there in the farewell address. He laid it right there on the line. What are we doing? We're just falling right into the trap he warned us about. And everybody's all like, oh, I love all the founders. I respect the founders. I'm just like George Washington. No, you ain't. If you was just like George Washington, you'd go for nonpartisanship, which you don't. So the consequences is no codetermination means no work voice. No nonpartisan speaker means no balance. Put those together and you get the government equivalent of a hydraulic failure at altitude, pressure loss, system bleeding, alarms ignored. The results, political stall, no lift, no trust. You know what this is like? This is like the ninth inning of a baseball game in which both team gets to pick out their own umpire. The crowd's exhausted. The scoreboard's tied and the nation's holding its breath. But here's the twist. Each team got to pick its own umpire, and both umpires are calling the same strike zones for different sides. Then to make it worse, a few players from the blue team start calling pitches for the Reds, saying, we just want to keep the game moving. That's not sportsmanship. That's sabotage dressed up as compromise. So what it really means politically is that Washington in 2025 we got Democrats trying to play by the rules of government's process, reason, procedure, while the Republicans play to win the narrative. A few Democrats caved to reopen the government like an outfielder throwing the ball back to the other dugout, saying maybe they'll like us if we lose gracefully. Now, that always works with a bully, don't it? Meanwhile, the crowd, the American people, doesn't care about the dugouts. They just want the lights back on and the planes in the air and the checks in the mail and food's in the refrigerator. They're playing the game and getting chaos, or they're paying for the game and getting chaos instead. The real umpire should be the Constitution, neutral, consistent, immune to party manipulation. But right now, that umpire's been shoved off the field. Lobbyists are in the press box calling balls and strikes, and players who are supposed to defend the rule book are too scared to get booed. It's the ninth inning of a crooked game where each team hires its own umpire and the crowd still believes it's baseball. Even the rule book burns. So that's what the root problem is right there. You know, blame the Democrats, blame the Republican Party, but blame us not honoring the founders' warnings about partisanship. If the Democratic Party really wanted to do something to fix this damn mess, the minute they get power in the midterms, make a rule, a House rule, nonpartisan Speaker of the House and committee chairs, and then start working on national codetermination laws. That's the only way you're going to fix it. Otherwise, we're going to have each team picking out their own umpire, and things are going to get worse and worse and worse. So there you go, brothers and sisters. That's what I have for you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.